you know, you were curious. You ask questions. That's essential. Do you have a few questions for those who are listening who are negotiating internally or externally? Do you have a few questions that you typically will ask in a negotiation that you found to be really effective?
I would ask to explain the reasons why certain asks, right? And get into the real reason why, not just because I want it, right? Is there an underlying reason?
Hmm.
You want longer payment terms? Okay, great. Is it you have a cash flow problem? Because then that's an issue, right? Is it a short-term situation because you're going through some big acquisition elsewhere? Cool. I'm sure we can work with you over a period of that time. And then it goes back to a more reasonable payment terms at that time, right? So like asking questions to, kind of pique the interest is really like what the focus is. It is being able to like develop that trust, right? I'm going to walk through and explain really why I need something or why I can't do something, right? I just can't do it, right? Our system isn't set up for what you're asking for. Doesn't make sense in terms of our own processes. Like we're just not scaled to be able to do what you're asking for. Like having those honest dialogues is how you get deals done at the end of the day, right? Because look, we all have our policies, we all got our positions, but at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do, right? And as long as you're transparent of what you can do, that's how you get deals done faster.
Yeah, and it's almost like through the adversity, you can actually strengthen your relationship with the person you're negotiating with, especially if there's that foundation of what you were mentioning earlier of partnership, of trust. But not everyone's honest. How do you discern and have wisdom to know, what you should and shouldn't share? Should you trust, should you not trust? Obviously, that's a case by case basis, but like, what's your take on detecting maybe deception or
So yeah, and look, like not everybody's honest, right? At the end of the day, and a strong negotiator could figure that out pretty quickly, right? If somebody is not showing all their cards, if they're being a little untrustworthy throughout the process, etc. Now in the world of even like in-person negotiations again, and post-pandemic era, what I have found, and I get back to partnerships, is when you go into a negotiation, it's about sitting next to the person you're negotiating with, not across from them. And I believe in that. And I also believe in writing scorecards on the board. So,
what's that? What do you mean?
so imagine a world. We think of scorecards, right? We think of give gets, we think of everything. Well, let's not hold anybody's cards. Let's keep track live while we're talking in the room. Write all those issues out, and we're going to say yes or no resolved. Is it in my favor, your favor, etc.? Because I've conceded on a term, you've conceded on a term. Hey, look, the score's 20-1. I'm sorry, I can't budge anymore. Or, this is truly a partnership because each term is going back and forth of what's important for my company or yours. I'm parking this one as a deal breaker for me. Let's get through the other stuff, right? A visual makes a huge difference in a negotiation. So many times these things take more time, right? It could take months to go through a huge legal master agreement negotiation. But the reality is if you're using visuals with them of this issue's closed, that issue's closed, etc., you don't forget what you agreed to. And a lot of times that happens where people are just spinning through things because, okay, great. You know what? Your ask isn't that crazy. I'll say yes to it. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. But if all of a sudden you've just given away 50 positions, now with the one you really need and you're stuck, who was keeping score? Right.
Yeah, and you can always
So
reference back. You can say, hey, respectfully, I agreed with you on the last four items. Where can you be flexible with me on this one? Or you
exactly.
could
And
be
not
more
enough
direct
people
too.
do it. Not enough
Yeah.
people do it. And it is one of those biggest things. I'm down to the last five big rocks on a deal, and here's where we are. Okay, great. Well, how'd the rest of it go? It went great. We're all agreed. Okay, cool. But did you just concede 50 things, or did you actually like go back and forth on anything that might have been in value that we could trade off to close some of these other risks. So, you know, I think it's a practice not done enough out there.